ॐ दक्षिणस्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशववामन कृष्णपाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञान गुरु सद्यो जात शङ्कर सद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः. So now we are almost coming to the end of the 18th chapter. And in the entire 18th chapter, Bhagavan Krishna is again and again summarizing the two main topics of Bhagavad Gita, that is the Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Already twice Bhagavan has summarized this Karma Yoga in this current chapter. And in the last session we saw from 41st verse to 49th verse, Bhagavan summarized the Karma Yoga from the point of view of Swadharma. He said this Swadharma is something where whatever is your dharma, whatever is your karma, which you have either taken up because of a hereditary predominance or that which you have taken up because of your attitude which is fit for a particular occupation, for a particular profession. So whatever it is, doing that particular karma, that swakarma, as an offering to the Lord, karma yoga buddhya, ishvara arpana buddhya, doing that particular karma in this way, this is what is karma yoga iti. Ishvara arpana buddhya karma kartavyam iti. Swakarma swadharma anushtanam was talked about. Swadharma anushtanam means swakarma kartavyam in the way, in the form of the karma yoga itself, which was described in the last session which we saw. Now what does Bhagavan do? From the 50th verse to the 55th verse, Bhagavan Krishna is now going to summarize the Jnana Yoga. So after having summarized Karma Yoga for the second time, he tries to summarize the Jnana Yoga again for the second time. Earlier also he has summarized once Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga. Now again he is going to summarize this Jnana Yoga from the 50th verse up till the 55th verse of this chapter, which we are going to see today. Now let us see what this Jnana Yoga is. See, once the person is prepared with the Chitta Shuddhi by following sufficient amount of Karma Yoga, and when there is sufficient Chitta Naischalyam, the capacity to focus and concentrate, one pointed focus and concentration on this knowledge, exposing one's intellect or going in for this Atmajnanam is what is called as Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga is Guru Mukhena Shastra Vichara. Guru Mukhena Shastra Adhyayanam. So what I'm doing, this Tattva Jnanam, this Atma Jnanam, which is the very subject matter of the entire Vedanta, which is the subject matter of Shastra, I am going to try to do vichara on that, taking the help of Shastra and taking the help of Guru. Now, this Jnana Yoga again, it is described in our scriptures that Jnana Yoga again contains three portions or three parts. We have already seen that sufficiently. In the second chapter, we have seen this. In the fourth chapter, we have seen it. In the fifth chapter, also, we have seen this. Now, what is the meaning of Jnana Yoga? Jnana Yoga is exposing my intellect or getting into Atma Jnana Vichara with the help of Shastra and Guru Mukhena, with the help of Guru, because the Shastra is quite cryptic. The Upanishads are quite cryptic. And unless we go through the Shastra Vichara with the help of the Guru, sometimes we may completely mistake what is told in the Shastra. Therefore, Swatantrena Brahma Vicharam na Kuryat. Shastrajnaha api. Even a scholar, even if he's a scholar in the language, Sanskrit language, even if he's a scholar, it is said, Bhagwan Shankaracharya says that no person should independently do, however intelligent one may be, however scholarly a person may be, independently Brahma Vichara should not be done. It should be done with the help of a guru, because it's the guru who knows how to use the Shastra Pramana, how to wield the Shastra Pramana, how to explain certain possible contradictions that may arise while we are studying the Shastra. So the guru knows it. A Sampradaya with guru knows it. Therefore, with the help of the Guru, Shastra Adhyayanam or Shastra Vichara is what is called as Jnana Yoga, and it contains three parts. The first one is called as Shravanam. Shravanam means listening to the Shastra. Guru Mukhena Shastra Shravanam. As the Guru is giving out this teaching from the Shastra, one listens to this Guru Mukhena Shastra Shravanam. And how long should it go on? It should go on for consistently long period of time, and it should be routinely every day done. It is not that the Shravanam is done once in 2 days or once a week or once in a month between the two classes, there between the two sessions, nothing is being done. No, that should not happen. It should be a consistent Shravanam, consistent listening to the Guru on the Shastra Vichara for a sufficient period of time, for a long enough period of time, because what the Shastra tells me is something very different from what I already know about myself. My idea about my Swarupam, myself, my idea about Ishvara or God, my idea about the entire Jagat is something very different from what the Shastra describes. And therefore, being something which I'm not used to, having some kind of a Shastra which is telling me something very different from what I already know or what I understand. It requires me to consistently listen to the Shastra with the help of the Guru for a sufficient amount of time. How much is that time? It all depends on the preparedness of the individual. And for this Shravanam, what should be the preparation? To enter into Jnana Yoga, one should be sufficiently prepared with Chitta Shuddhi by Karma Yoga, Chitta Naischalyam by way of Upasana Yoga, and Amanitva, the values to inculcate, to have maturity of the intellect, to actually absorb this Shastra, whatever is being told. And also, of course, with this preparation of the mind, the capacity to concentrate, to sit for an hour or more when the Guru is explaining this Shastra, it requires a lot of preparation on my part. That is what Tattva Bodha calls as sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, the basics, the basic preparation of the mind of a mumukshu to expose oneself to the Shastra after having had enough of sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, tad anantaram. Sadhana chatushtaya sampatti anantaram, one has to expose one's intellect, one has to give in to the Shastra Vichara in the form of Shravanam. So, consistent listening to the Shastra Vichara with the help of the Guru and Shastra for a sufficient amount of time. This is called as Shravanam. Now, just Shravanam alone is not sufficient, because, as I told you, what I already know about myself and the Jagat and Ishvara, Jiva Jagat Ishvara Swarupam, what I know and what the Shastra is telling me is totally different. And there are possibilities that I may have a lot of doubts about what the Shastra is telling. And merely listening to the Shastra for a sufficiently long period of time is not sufficient. I have to make this listening which I have heard, this knowledge which is, got, or which is imbibed by Shravanam, that which is imbibed by me by Shravanam, has to be made doubt free. So when I make this knowledge doubt free, when I no longer have any doubts about what the Shastra is talking about, there is no longer any confusion in me. I know very well that what the Shastra is telling me is the truth, and I see the truth behind what the Shastra is telling me. So making this knowledge, whatever I have heard, without any doubts, doubt free knowledge, samshaya free knowledge, this is called as the process of mananam. How do I do it? I have to go on thinking about it like chewing the cud in a cow. So I have to go on thinking about it. I have to listen again and again. If I feel that there are any contradictions or if there is some difficulty and difference in understanding what is being said, if I have any doubts, I have to ask relevant questions to the Guru, or I have to have a relevant discussion with the other people who are studying the Shastra. And then I have to make this knowledge absolutely doubt free. This kind of making this knowledge doubt free is called as the process of mananam. Going over the listened Shastra again and again and again, and taking the references which the Shastra gives, taking references where the Guru gives various other references, comparing and contrasting, listening to different texts again and again. See, all the Upanishads are talking about what? Jiva Swarupa, Ishvara Swarupa, Jagat Swarupa, what is Bandha, what is Moksha, and what is that, what is that Aikya Jnanam which gives rise to Moksha, what is the Sadhanani. That's all the Upanishads, 108 Upanishads that we have are all talking about this only: Jiva Swarupa, Ishvara Swarupa, Jagat Swarupa, Bandha Swarupa, Moksha Swarupa, and the sadhanas for this. That's all is being talked about. All the Shastra talks about the same thing. But then what is the need for us to study different texts, various texts? For years together, we study the different Upanishads, we study the Bhashyas, we study the different Prakarana Granthas. Why are we doing all these things? Because by going through the Shravanam of different Shastra texts again and again, what I am doing, this is the process of making this knowledge doubt free. Mananam. Okay. So once Shravanam is done and this knowledge is made doubt free by a process of Mananan, then I have to assimilate this knowledge. I have to digest and absorb this knowledge. This process of absorbing this knowledge, assimilating this knowledge, is what is called as Nidhidhyasanam. And in the sixth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagwan Krishna has dealt in detail with Nidhidhyasanam. And that time when I took the sixth chapter, I also told you what this Nidhidhyasanam is. I gave an example also, which is commonly given by gurus, various Vedanta gurus, that if you add sugar in a cup of water or milk or something, and if you don't stir it, when we taste this milk or coffee or water in which sugar has been added, and I simply drink from above, I may not find the sweetness in that liquid. Why? Because whatever sugar has been added, it has not been stirred sufficiently enough so that that sugar melts and that sugar is available in every molecule of the milk in that glass. Similarly, what is Nididhyasanam? Nididhyasanam is a process by which, by constant contemplation on whatever has been heard during the study of Vedanta Vichara, again and again and again contemplating over it. Initially, as told in the sixth chapter, sitting in one place, spending some time of the day in trying to go over the Vedantic truths that I have heard during my Shravanam and Mananam, and going through it, going over it again and again and again, contemplating what am I doing. It's literally this knowledge that I have. I'm literally as though stirring this knowledge in my intellect so that this knowledge sinks in or it seeps in, and then I get what is called as a nishtha in this knowledge. So the purpose of Nididhyasanam is also what? To abide in this knowledge, to be firmly established in this knowledge. This knowledge means the Vedantic truth that I have heard. What is the Vedantic truth? That you are not the body, mind, sense complex. You are the Atma Swarupa. That is the most important Vedantic truth. Then what is this Ishvara? This Ishvara is the Jagat Karanam Ishvara. Whatever is there here, it is nothing but Ishvara. The truth about Ishvara. And then ultimately, that Ishvara, which is the Jagat Karanam Ishvara, that which is in and through the entire universe, entire Jagat, that Ishvara is not separate from me. I and this Ishvara are one and the same. There is this Abheda Jnanam between me and this Jagat Karanam Ishvara. This is what is called as the Aikya Jnanam. That is what is being told as the Vedantic truth. That's what it is. Mahavakya Vichara. I am not separate from Ishvara. I am not different from that Brahman or Ishvara. I am Ishvara Swarupa. That consciousness Atma here and that Brahman, which is the Adhishtanam of this entire Jagat, both are not different from each other. Iti, this Abheda Jnanam, that Nishtha, that establishment in that knowledge, abiding in this knowledge is called as Jnana Nishtha. So the Nidhidhyasanam is meant for what? For Jnana Nishtha. Brahma Nishtha also it is called as. Atmanishtha also it is called as. Sthira Prajna also it is called as. That knowledge or that prajna which becomes well established truth in me, that is called as the Sthira Prajna. And a person who has this stable knowledge, abiding in this stability of Aham Brahma Asmi, Aham Ishvara Asmiti, in this knowledge, fully established, abiding in this knowledge, such a person is called as a Sthita Prajnaha, Sthira Prajnaha, or Jnana Nishtaha. So this is what I have seen earlier also. And what is the need to have this nishtha in this jnana? What is the meaning of nishtha, jnana nishtha? This knowledge is spontaneously available to me whenever I need. I don't have to think of it all the time. Initially, in the phase of Nidhidhyasanam, it is necessary for me to be constantly thinking of this Aikya Jnanam, that Jiva Swarupa, who am I? What is Ishvara and what is the connection between me and Ishvara? What is the connection between me and Brahman? Are we different? Are we one and the same? Has there ever been a Bheda between the two, or has it always been a Bheda? This kind of a contemplation again and again going on in the mind, it should happen all the time till I get this absolute firm conviction in this knowledge. This is what is called as Jnana Nishtha. And what is the reason, what is the need for this Jnana Nishtha? This knowledge should be available to me whenever I want, whenever I am in a crisis. Every day I may not be in a crisis. Whenever there is a problem, whenever I am in need of this knowledge, this should be spontaneously available for me. And this spontaneous availability of this knowledge, whenever I need, this is what is called as Jnana Nishtha. And this whole process of Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam is called as Jnana Yoga. And from the 50th verse up till the 55th verse, Bhagwan Krishna is going to summarize this Jnana Yoga. Let's see what Lord Krishna says in the 50th verse of the 18th chapter. Siddhim prapto yatha brahma तथाप्नोति निबोध मे समासेनैव कौन्तेय निष्ठा ज्ञानस्य या परा. So hey Arjuna, now listen from me. Nibodha me. May you learn from me. What? What is this jnanasya nishtha? What is this abiding in this jnana swarupam? And why am I talking about it? For a person, siddhim praptaha, the one who has already got the preparation of the mind, the one who is a sadhana chatushtaya sampanna adhikari, the one who has enough chitta shuddhi in the form of karma yoga, enough of chitta naischalyam from upasana yoga, enough of maturity of the intellect by inculcating this daivi sampatti, amanitvadi daivi sampatti. Such a person is called as siddhim praptaha yata brahma tatha apnoti. Siddhim praptaha, the preparation, siddhi means here chitta shuddhi rupena, the intellect is prepared for this knowledge. Siddhim praptaha yatha brahma tatha apnoti. After having prepared the intellect for this knowledge, how this Brahman is, or the knowledge of Brahman is abided into, tatha apnoti, Brahma apnoti or Nishtham apnoti iti nibodhame. May you learn it from me. And samase naiva kaunteya. Hey Kaunteya, hey Arjuna, I have already described this Jnana Yoga in detail in the second chapter, first part of the second chapter, fourth chapter, fifth chapter, sixth chapter, seventh chapter, eighth chapter, ninth chapter, 13th chapter, 15th chapter. All these chapters are nothing but Jnana Yoga. I have already talked about them. So now in the next five verses, Samasenaiva means very briefly, Nishtha Jnanasya Yapara. This is called also called as Paranishtha. This Jnana Nishtha is also called as Paranishtha. Nishtha, abidance in this ultimate knowledge. What is this ultimate knowledge? That I, the Jiva, is not different, not separate from Ishvara iti. Abidance in this jnanam. What is this jnana yoga? That I am going to tell you samasinaiva in in a brief manner. Here we must understand Bhagwan Krishna chooses to talk about Nidhidhyasanam only. Because only in 5 verses Bhagwan is summarizing this topic of Jnana Yoga. We have to take it as whatever I have described all this time. What is Shravanam? What is Mananam? Iti I have to know. Now, what is this Nidhidhyasanam? In the next 4 verses, Bhagwan is going to talk about very briefly about whatever he has already spoken in detail in the 6th chapter in the form of Dhyanam. Nidhidhyasanam there was called as Dhyanam. And what all topics did Bhagwan discuss in the 6th chapter? What is this antaranga sadhanani, preparatory sadhanas, bahiranga sadhanani, the outside preparatory sadhanas for this dhyanam, dhyana swarupam, what is the nature of this dhyanam or nididhyasanam, how it is to be actually done, then what is this dhyana phala, what is the phalam of this dhyanam in the form of jnana nishta, what are the obstacles to this dhyanam or this dhyanam, that also was talked about, and how to get out of these obstacles of this for this process of dhyanam or nididhyasana. This whole thing was talked about in the 6th chapter, but here Bhagwan decides to talk about only nididhyasanam here. And what is Nidhidhyasanam? He says, after having prepared this mind with Shravanam and Mananam, there are certain preparatory sadhanas, and I have to prepare my mind for the Nidhidhyasanam. And initially, I have to do a sitting meditation or Nidhidhyasanam, in which, for say 20 minutes or half an hour in a day, I sit quietly, absolutely in a recluded place, and then try to go over the teachings that have happened in Vedanta Vichara. We can say the Vedantic truth. This is called as a Vedantic meditation or Nididhyasana, which was called as Dhyana Yoga. It is not Upasana in the form of Japa. In Upasana, I am using Saguna Ishvara, my Ishta Devata, for the sake of Upasana. Nididhyasana is again and again and again bringing into my mind whatever I have learned from Vedanta Shravanam and made this knowledge doubt free with Mananam. So, this is what is called as Nididhyasanam. And in the 51st verse, he says how it is to be done. Antaranga sadhanani is going to be talked about as to the one who wants to do this nididhyasanam, what kind of a preparation of the mind a person should have, that is going to be talked about in the next few verses as to antaranga and bahiranga sadhanani for the sake of this nididhyasanam. Nididhyasana swarupam is not being talked about here, only the preparations for nididhyasana and the phalam of nididhyasana in the form of jnana nishtha is going to be talked about here. So let's see the 51st verse. बुद्ध्या विशुद्धया युक्तः धृत्यात्मानं नियम्य च शब्दादीन् विषयान् त्यक्त्वा रागद्वेषव्युदस्य च. So here he deals with from 51st verse to the 53rd verse the antaranga sadhanani, the sadhanas or the preparations of the mind meant to keep the mind focused on this nididhyasana are talked about. So buddhya vishuddhaya, In these two words, Shravanam, Mananam is talked about. In this, the rest of the verse is on Nidhidhyasana. But Buddhya Vishuktaya means after having systematically heard the Vedanta Vichara, having systematically heard and pondered over the Vedanta Vichara, preparing the Buddhi sufficiently with this knowledge, Buddhya Vishuddhaya Yuktaha. With this knowledge, having been made doubtless in this Buddhi, Dhritya Atmanam Niyamyasa. Dhritya Atmanam here, this Atmanam means Dhritya, by commitment. What do I do? Atmanam niyamyacha. Here, Atma means here body, mind, sense complex, not the Satchidananda Atma, not this, Brahman, Atma, Brahman. No, not that. Atmanam niyamya means with commitment, having made this knowledge doubt free, I should sit in one place for meditation on Vedantic truths, Vedantic meditation, and how dhritya, by commitment, Atmanam niyamyacha, keeping my body, mind, sense complex together. How? Shabdadin Vishayans Tyaktva, pulling the mind and the body, mind, sense complexes away from the objects of the world without thinking about the objects of the world. What we call as Uparama, or in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, it is called as Pratyahara. Pratyahara means withdrawing the mind and the sense organs, sitting in one place, keeping the body straight and sitting in one place and relax, then I withdraw my mind and sense organs from their respective objects and try to concentrate upon this Vedantic meditation. And Shabdadin Vishayans Tyaktva, having withdrawn from the thoughts of the world and its object, Raga Dvesha Vyudasya cha. Let raga dveshas not trouble you at that time. So, like our gurus say, temporarily for that 20 minutes or half an hour of Vedantic meditation or Nidhidhyasana, may you be an internal sannyasi. May you not think of any other objects of the world. May raga dveshas not pull your mind and sense organs here and there so that your concentration is gone. Let it not be there. Raga dvesha vyudasya. Temporarily, don't let the raga dveshas come and disturb your nididhyasana. This is an antaranga sadhana, preparing the mind, preparing the sense organs. Then he says, what are the other preparations that are to be done for this nididhyasanam? 52nd verse he talks about. Let us see. Vivikta sevi lagvashi yatavakaya manasaha dhyana yoga paro nityam vairagyam samupashritaha. So what he says is Vivikta Sevi. May you choose a place which is not disturbed by others. May you find a place, doesn't matter even if it is in your own house, a corner of your house where you are not likely to be disturbed by anything. So Vivikta Sevi, a person who tries to find an isolated spot, a spot in which one is not disturbed. Lagvashi, a person who has eaten not very heavily, nor is he starving, but having eaten sufficiently so that neither hunger nor excessive food distracts you from your point of meditation. So, lagvashi, having eaten lightly, so that you are not hungry also. At the same time, you are not feeling drowsy because of overeating also. So, having consumed light food, finding a place in which there is unlikely to be any disturbance, minimal disturbance. It's very difficult for us to say that we'll find a place where there's absolutely no disturbance at all. It may not be possible. We are all grahasthas. So we have to find a place and a time at which other people are not active. Let us try to find that time where others are not active, where we have a sufficient, privacy in a place where for this next 20 minutes or half an hour, I can sit undisturbed by the others and concentrate on this Vedantic meditation of what? Aham Brahma Asmi, Aham Ishvara Asmi, iti, concentrating on this knowledge. Vivikta Sevi, Lagvashi, Yata Vak Kaya Manasaha. Having control, Nigraha. Control means, Nigraha means that managing my Vak Kaya Manasaha, keeping at all the three levels, the body level at the vak level and at the mind level, let all the three be relaxed and be in one particular plane. That's why pranayama is talked about. It is pranayama, through pranayama, that the body, the breath, and also the sense organs, the mind, everything is as though in one particular straight line. So let there be a conditioning of the body mind sense complex in the form of, a discipline of the body to sit in one place, the vak indriya keeping quiet for some time, and the mind not hovering over the objects of the world outside. Yata vak kaya manasaha. The one who has got a kind of a nigraha on body, on the organ of speech, and also the mind. Like, in the sense, I'm doing nididhyasana, listening to something or talking something. Like, when we chant orally, when we chant sometimes, Lalita Sahasranama, we are chanting orally, it is going on, but the mind is somewhere else. The japa is happening orally, but the mind is somewhere else. No, that should not happen. The mind, the body, and the vak indriya should be at rest. Dhyana yoga paraha. It's only then that a person can become a dhyana yoga paraha, the one who is committed to dhyanam or this nididhyasanam. Nityam vairagya samupashritaha, the one, at least at present, at least at this time, he has vairagya towards everything else outside. Nityam vairagyam, yes, a sadhana chatushtaya sampanna adhikari, when he is prepared sufficiently, vairagyam becomes his very nature. And anytime and anywhere he can sit and do nididhyasanam, it is possible. But now, when a person is sitting in meditation, sitting in nididhyasanam for some time, temporarily at least, let there not be any distractions from the world outside. Vairagyam samupashritaha. Let there be a disinterest or disenchantment with the objects of the world outside. Then in the 53rd verse, what does he say? He says, in spite of all these things, there is a possibility of disturbance from within itself. From within me itself, there can be disturbance to this nididhyasanam. What are those disturbances? That is what is being talked about in the 53rd verse. He says, Ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodham parigraham vimuchya nirmama shantaha Brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Who's fit for this nididhyasanam? The one who is not disturbed by his own internal emotions. A person who has got lot of emotions internally, especially the asuri sampat, the one who has these kind of emotions, can disturb a person in the process of nididhyasanam. And what are those emotions which can disturb a person? He says ahankaraha. Ahankara means what? Deha abhimanaha. I am the body, it's iti. All the time thinking, worrying about the body, even when I'm sitting in nididhyasanam, even a slight discomfort in the body, I get extremely affected by it. So, here ahankara means at present, at the time of nididhyasanam, I do not have the deha abhimana. No abhimana in the body mind sense complex. This is called as ahankara. I should get rid of this ahankara. I should be I should not have this ahankara which is disturbing me. Here, all these are the emotions, the asuri sampatis which can disturb me. So ahankara can disturb me. Then balam, power and position. When I'm sitting in Nidhidhyasanam, only my power, how powerful I am or how powerless I am, or what is my position in the society, what is my position here, let all that be there outside for some time. All my power and position can wait for 20 minutes to half an hour till, I finish this. I give this exclusive time of 20 minutes to 30 minutes for Vedantic meditation. So, Balam, my position and strength, can be a disturbance to me. Darpam, arrogance. Arrogance is that again Asuri Sampatti which can disturb me. Why should I do this Nididhyasanam? Of course, I mean, once a person comes to Nididhyasanam, he does not think why I should do. But these are some of my vasanas, some of these disturbing emotions which can disturb me during Nididhyasana. I should be careful about them. I should be awareful about them. And when such disturbing emotions come, I have to learn to keep them aside. Kamam krodham, Of course, we have already seen enough of kama krodha, desire, kama, krodha, anger, and other negative feelings. Parigraham, possessions. The more possessions I have, the more disturbed I am during meditation. The less the possessions, means whatever I need. It doesn't mean that one can live with only, at least one should have sufficient number of clothes, sufficient amount of things around to live comfortably, but one need not accumulate. This tendency to accumulate is called as parigraha. I have some 20 suitcases, some 100 dresses. It is not necessary. The more parigraha I have, the mind seems to dwell on the parigraha. Therefore it is said that if one has to be a nididhyasaka, one has to have less and less of parigraha, only whatever is needed, not only in the form of objects, in the form of all, even my emotions and other, mentally also I can accumulate things which can become a parigraham. So I should parigraha, or this accumulation, amassing things, that can also disturb me. Vimucha nirmamaha, abhima nirmama mamakara, attachment towards the possessions that I have. What is ahankara? Possessive about my body mind sense complex. Identification with my body mind sense complex is ahankara. What is mamakara? Abhimana towards whatever things I possess. So may you be nirmama. May you not have any kind of an entanglement with the possessions you have, or with your body mind sense complex. Vimucha. At present, for these 20-30 minutes, get out of all these emotions which are likely to trouble you. And when you keep them away for that time, who are you? You are Shantaha. Shantaha means you are calm and very focused. Such a person, Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate, such a person is fit for attaining moksha. And what is the purpose of Nidhidhyasanam? Jnana Nishtha. What is Jnana Nishtha? Moksha. So it is only such a person who is capable of a very effective Nidhidhyasana and moksha. Then in the 54th verse, Bhagwan talks about the Jnana Nishtha Phalam. What is the phalam of this Nidhidhyasana? Phalam of Nididhyasana is Jnananishtha, which also is called as moksha, which is nothing but freedom from samsara. And this freedom from samsara is called as Jivan Mukti, Jnananishtha, Brahmanishta, or Atmanishta. Now, what does he talk about here in the 54th verse? Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, na shochati na kankshati, samas sarveshu bhuteshu, Madbhaktim labhate param. This Nididhyasaka attains me. Madbhaktim labhate param. He becomes a jnani bhakta of the seventh chapter. This person who has successfully done the Nididhyasanam abhyasa rupena, with this abhyasa samadhi abhyasa rupena, in this way, the way it was talked about in the sixth chapter in detail, and in this very very briefly, the process of Nididhyasana, such a person mad bhaktim labhate param. Mad bhaktim param bhaktim labhate. He becomes a jnani bhakta. What is the meaning of jnani bhakta? He does not see any difference between me and him, between me Ishvara and himself. This jnani bhakta does not see any difference. And Bhagwan Krishna says, Sacha me priyaha. Such a jnani bhakta is dearest to me, because Mama Atma Eva. He's my Atma itself. He is the Atma. I know he's my Atma. But now he has also understood that he is my Atma and not different from me. And such a person is who? Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. This person has that prasannata, or the person is completely relaxed in this knowledge, not disturbed by the ragadveshas, or not disturbed by samsara, not bound by samsara, free from the dukkha, sukha dukkhas of ragadvesha. Na shochati na kankshati. He does not grieve. That is the main purpose of Bhagavad Gita. Na shochitum arhasi. Every time he tells Arjuna, you don't need to grieve over anything. There is nothing to grieve over. Everything that is here comes and goes. Nothing to grieve over. So such a person who is a jnana nishtaha, a sthira prajna, a sthita prajna. What is he? Na shochati. He does not grieve over anything for anybody anymore. Na kankshati. There is no shoka, there is no kanksha. Kanksha means what? The desire to become something, the desire to have something. This kind of a kanksha. Na shochati, na kankshati, samaha sarveshu bhuteshu. He sees himself as the very atma of every being. Sarvatma bhavati, sarva bhutatma bhutatma bhavati. He understands that I am that consciousness which is there in every individual, and he sees brahmane gavi hastini shuni swapakecha pandita samadarshinaha. Okay, Shuni Chaiva Shvapakecha Panditaha Samadarshina. In the fifth chapter, we saw that. What does Krishna say? This person Samaha Sarva Bhuteshu. He does not have any preferences over anybody or anything. He sees everything and everybody as equal, because in every jiva, in everything, what is there is this Atma or Brahman, nothing else. So such is the phalam of jnana nishta, and such a person is called as a sthita prajnaha, or such a person is a jivan muktaha. Now in the 55th verse, Bhagwan gives a summary, a consolidated summary of what he has talked about in the last 5 verses, that is jnana yoga consolidation he does. So what does he say here? Bhaktya mam abhijanati यावान्यश्चास्मि तत्त्वतः ततो मां तत्त्वतो ज्ञात्वा विशते तदनन्तरम्. Bhaktya mam abhijanati. Here bhakti means nididhyasanam. See, bhakti can mean different things. Bhakti has different connotations in different contexts. When it comes to the Jnana Yoga context, when it comes to the Nididhyasana context, Jnana Yoga, in that particular context, Bhakti here means Nididhyasanam. So, Bhaktya mam abhijanati. Okay, what does he understand? With Nididhyasana, he understands me as what? What is my Swarupam? What is this Ishvara Swarupam iti abhijanati? Nididhyasanena bhaktya Ishvara Swarupam abhijanati yavan yascha asmi tattvataha. He knows me in my true sense as para prakriti, as Brahman. He knows my tattvam. Tattvataha janati. Mam abhijanati tattvataha. I am that Ishvara with Paraprakriti and Aparaprakriti. What is my ultimate nature? What is that nature of mine, Ishvara? I may be available in the form of Saguna Ishvara or in the form of Prakriti. But what is the Tattva of my nature? It is nothing but this Paraprakriti or Brahman. The one Bhaktya through Nididhyasanam who has understood my real nature, Tattvataha, the one who has understood me, Ishvara, as nothing but as Paraprakriti, and who sees himself not different from me. The one who sees himself also as Paraprakriti of Ishvara. The one who sees me Tattvataha as Paraprakriti. How? Bhaktya, by Nididhyasanena, tataha mam Tattvataha jnatva. Having known me Tattvataha, the way I am, what am I, what is my real nature, iti tattvataha, after having understood me, vishate, enters, as though enters into me, tad anantaram vishate. That means he becomes me. There is no difference. Aham brahmasmi iti, once I understand. Aham ishvara asmi iti, once I understand. That understanding, that understanding which becomes a nishtha in me, then he is not different from me. It is as though this Nididhyasaka has entered into me. Vishate means having, it is although as though he has entered into me. That means he has become one with me. He is a Jnani Bhakta. It is the end of the spiritual ladder or process. It is my ultimate goal of Moksha Purushartha I have reached. This is the ultimate. This is the Phalam consolidated, the entire Jnana Yoga as to what is Shravanam, what is Mananam, what is Nididhyasanam, and how Nididhyasanam should be done, and what is the phalam of Nididhyasanam. This is consolidated in the 55th verse. With the completion of the summary of Jnana Yoga, again Bhagwan comes back for a third time Just see the compassion of Bhagwan Krishna, because he's talking to Arjuna in a very extraordinary situation. And where is Arjuna? He's in the battlefield, and there are so many obstacles in his buddhi, so much of distraction. So this is the only chance Bhagwan Krishna has got, being the very last chapter. And he knows that Arjuna is still confused. He may be to some extent convinced about what Bhagwan is talking. At least he wants to make him convinced that he has to do his swadharma and he has to fight his war. Forget about Jnana Yoga now. Maybe after the war, maybe after everything is settled, Arjuna will take up this teaching and probably will become a Jnana Yogi and Nidhidhyasaka. But at least now, what is important is that Arjuna does not leave from the battlefield and does this karma of fighting this battle as karma yoga. Therefore, Bhagwan comes back again in the next up till the 62nd verse, 61st verse. He describes Jnana Yoga again in a summary. Karma Yoga. He again comes back to Karma Yoga from the 56th verse up till the 60th to 61st verse. He summarizes Karma Yoga again. And in this discussion, here, Bhagwan brings about the aspect of surrender as Karma Yoga. In the 41st to 49th verse, what did he talk about offering the karma, swakarma rupena, swadharma rupena. Whatever karma is being done is to be offered to the Lord. Karma yoga buddhya iti, that was talked about. Here, a karma yogi has to be a bhakta, has to surrender to Ishvara, even to offer whatever I am doing as an offering and accept whatever comes as prasada. I cannot do it unless I surrender to Ishvara. So here from the 56th verse onwards, for the next 3 or 4 verses, Bhagwan is going to talk to Arjuna about Karma Yoga again, with a special emphasis on bhakti, a special emphasis on surrender. So what does he say in the 56th verse? सर्वकर्माण्यपि सदा कुर्वाणो मद्व्यपाश्रयः मत्प्रसादादवाप्नोति शाश्वतं पदमव्ययम्. So hey Arjuna, sarva karmani api sada kurvanaha, doing all the karmas sarvada api. Look Arjuna, I am not expecting you to become a sannyasi and sit somewhere without doing anything. No. May you do the karmas that you have to do. Swadharma rupena, swakarma rupena, whatever karma, whatever activities have to be done, may you all do those activities. Sada kurvanaha. But what? Mad vyapashrayaha. Taking me to be the ultimate support, ultimate ashrayaha. What Bhagwan Shankaracharya say, Mai arpita sarvatma bhava. Mai vasudeve ishvare ashraye. I am the ultimate ashraya. There is no other ashraya. Therefore, I surrender to this ultimate ashraya, the ultimate support of this entire universe, Ishvara Mai Vasudeve, the one who surrenders his mind, his karma, his buddhi into Ishvara Sankalpa. Mad Vyapashrayaha. Mad Vyapashrayaha means with the attitude of surrender. Doing one's karma, but it's not for my sake. No abhimana in the karma, no abhimana in the karma phala, but then madhyapashrayaha, completely surrendering himself, body, mind, sense complex to me, and surrendering whatever karma is being done, madhyapashraya, taking me as the ultimate support, the ultimate abode of ashraya, taking me as that sarva karmanyapi sada kurvanaha. Continue to do, be active. There is no need for you to withdraw from the jagat. Be active, but remember all the time that you do this with the sense of surrender to me. Mad vyapashrayaha mat prasadat avapnoti. And when you surrender to me and do all the karmas, my prasada, mat prasadat, whatever comes to you in the form of karma phala is nothing but my prasada. And mat prasadat avapnoti shashvatam padam. Ultimately, you will reach your goal, ultimate goal of moksha. Karma yoga does not give you moksha directly, but Arjuna, By Karma Yoga, what happens? Siddhim avapnoti. What kind of a Siddhim avapnoti? Chitta Shuddhi Rupa Siddhim avapnoti. And with Chitta Shuddhi and Chitta Naishalyam, you go to Jnana Yoga. And with this Nidhidhyasanam, which was talked about in the last 5 verses, ultimately what happens? Padam avyayam shashvatam mat prasadat. This avyayam padam, moksha rupi padam, jnana nishtha rupi padam, jivan mukti rupa moksha padam avapnosi. You are going to, this person, he gets this avyayam padam. Therefore, whatever you are doing now, Arjuna, may you do it with the intention of surrendering everything to the Lord, to me, Ishvara. As a karta, you surrender to me. Whatever karma you are doing as a karta, that also you surrender to me. With this surrender bhava, with this, this bhavana of surrendering, you surrender your own body, mind, sense complex. The instruments of your karma also you surrender to me, and the very karma itself you surrender to me. And whatever comes as a result of this karma is what? Mat prasadat. And I will see that through this process of surrendering yourself and your karmas as a karma yogi, ultimately, over a period of time, you will definitely reach that ultimate goal of yours, which is nothing but moksha purushartha. So, indirectly now, he's praising the attitude of Karma Yoga again in the form of surrender to Ishvara. Now, let us go to the 57th verse. He says, Chetasa sarva karmani mayi sanyasya matparaha buddhi yogamupashritya machchitta satatam bhava. Machchittam satatam bhava. All the time, constantly, mat chittam bhava. May I, Ishvara, be there constantly at the back of your mind. Whatever is happening, whatever you're doing, whatever may be the situation, let that feeling that this I am this Isha, let me be there at the back of your mind. What our Pujya Swamiji calls at Anusmaranam. Let there be Anusmaranam all the time. Ishvara Anusmaranam, let it be there. Yes, during our puja, during our meditation, during our Nidhidhyasana, direct, kind of smaranam is there, but then that smaranam with which I have connected to Ishvara, that connection remains with me all the time as a background tambura shruti. It remains in me all the time. This connection with Ishvara, satatam, all the time, machittam bhava. May there be this anusmaranam of me all the time. May you not forget me even for a moment. You may be doing so many things like a musician who does all kinds of acrobatics. So many tans he may be singing, so many things he may be doing. But then that tambura shruti, that particular shruti, he does not lose that stride. That is actually in the background of the mind. Whatever he may be doing, he or she may be doing, the shruti is constantly there. Similarly, just like a musician has the anusmaranam of the shruti all the time, it seems that is why even without the tambura, when you ask a musician to sing, automatically he or she catches on to that shruti even without the tambura playing in the background. That much is the anusmaranam of that shruti in that particular buddhi. Similarly, I as Ishvara, where everything has to be surrendered, I as the one who's the giver of all the phalas, I'm the one who is the receiver of all the karmas. I, as the giver of all the phalas, let me be there in your mind constantly at the background. You may not be doing japa about me all the time. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. You need not be thinking of me in that way. But then, Satatam Machittaha Bhava. May your mind be constantly abiding in me in the form of Anusvaranam. Let that Shruti, Tambura Shruti of Ishvara as there, taking Ishvara along with me, taking Bhagwan along with me. Whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to do. You are there, I know. I'm doing whatever, I'll take the responsibility. I take the responsibility for my actions. I do whatever I have to do. But I am going to take you along with me. You are going to be with me. You are not going to be with me only in the puja room, not only during puja, no, all the time, every minute of my waking life, you are going to be with me. I'm going to take you along with me and do all that I have to do. This Anusmaranam is called as Machittaha Satatam Bhava. Arjuna, may you become Machittaha and may you follow Karma Yoga. Buddhi Yogam Upashritya. Another name for Karma Yoga is Buddhi Yoga, which was already talked about in the later part of the second chapter, Buddhi Yoga. This Buddhi Yoga, what is the meaning of Buddhi? Why Karma Yoga is called as Buddhi Yoga? There are two types of Buddhis involved in Karma Yoga. Ishvara Arpana Buddhi, Ishvara Prasada Buddhi. What is Buddhi here? Two types of attitude. What is this attitude? Ishvara Arpana Buddhi is one Buddhi, and Ishvara Prasada Buddhi when I receive all the karma phalas. Therefore, because of these two buddhis, because of these two attitudes which are called as buddhi, two buddhis, two attitudes, Bhagwan says buddhi yogam. Another name which Krishna gives to karma yoga is buddhi yoga. Therefore he says buddhi yogam upashritya. That means karma yogam upashritya. What do you do? Chetasa sarva karmani mai sanyasya. Willingly, with your mind, with your intellect, consciously, awarefully, sanyasya, give up all your actions into me. Chetasa, by this buddhi, with, with the buddhi of surrendering. That means we are not doing it simply like that. With all the awareness, with all the possible nishtha, with all the understanding, with all the knowing, every time I do something, Chetasa, with a proper intellect, with an alert intellect, I am alert. Whenever I am doing something, I am alert that yes, I am doing this, but this is an offering to the Lord. My whatever I want to do, hope it is Ishvara Sankalpa. This is my Ichha now to do this particular karma. But then with alertness all the time, every minute, hey Bhagwan, hey Krishna, you are with me. And this karma that I'm doing very, awarefully, with all my alertness, I offer it to you, hey Bhagwan, Chetasa, Sarva Karmani, Mai Sanyasya. Literally, sannyasya means giving up all your karmas into me. Literally, as though you are giving up, sannyasya means giving up into me, mai sannyasya, in me, giving up all your karmas in me, become matparaha. You are matparaha. Matparaha means totally involved in me. You don't see anything else other than Ishvara. You, as the doer, are Ishvara. The karma that you are doing is Ishvara. You completely matparaha. You are totally with me, totally involved with me, and alertfully, awarefully, whatever action you are doing, you are offering it to me, and you are aware all the time. Be aware all the time. May I be in the background of your mind as that Ishvara without whom nothing is there. This whole universe is nothing but that Ishvara. And this, you know, Ishvara in the form of Ekarupa Ishvara, my Ishtadevata, no problem. Vishwarupa Ishvara, no problem. Or the teaching of Ishvara in the form of Nirguna Brahma, taking that teaching itself as that which is constantly with me. Jnana Nishta Rupena. In whatever way, Ekarupa, Aneka Rupa or Vishwarupa, or even Nirguna Brahma Swarupena, continuously, constantly, every minute, being related to me, keeping me in the background of your mind. May you offer all your actions to me. Then what happens? What is the, phalam of this offering? What is the phalam of this karma yoga? We have already seen. The phalam is what? All the obstacles that are likely to be there in the form of my own emotions, my own disturbing emotions, all those raga dveshas. I want this, I don't want this, iti preferences, all these things get diluted, and my mind gets prepared for this ultimate goal called as moksha in the form of preparedness for this jnana yoga. So let us see from the 58th verse. Next time we'll see as to what is the phalam of this karma yoga attitude. That is what is going to be talked about for the next 2 or 3 verses by Bhagwan Krishna. Om Nandantu sadhaka sarve vinashyantu vidushakaha avastha shambhavi mestu prasannostu gurus sada sarve bhavantu sukhinaha sarve santu niramayaha sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschid dukham apnuyat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.